Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelly.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
And welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. I want to thank everybody that was a part of our roundtable this past Saturday. It was a tremendous event, another successful roundtable in the books. If you guys have not checked that episode out, make sure you guys go check it out. It is on Spotify, it is on Apple Podcasts, and of course on our YouTube channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are so close to 50 subscribers already on YouTube, so make sure you guys spread the word, hit that subscribe button. But of course, I want to thank Richie, Jalen, everybody that showed up, David, everybody that showed up for that roundtable event. It was tremendous. Just want to thank those guys for being a part of it, man. And and I always say when it comes to just wrestling, just a wrestling community, man, like that's what it's always about when it comes to that. Just building a community to where, we may not always agree on everything when it comes to wrestling, but the fact that we can always just come together, always have an open mind. It's always awesome, and having those types of discussions, it's a lot of fun. And especially with Rumble coming up, it was definitely a good time. So shout out to everybody that was involved, and make sure if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It is on all podcasting platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as on our YouTube channel. But that was then, and this is now. And boy, Bryan, have things been going crazy over the last 48 hours. A lot of breaking news. And of course, we're going to go over Monday Night Raw, the go-home show to the Rumble. It's Rumble week. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz coming up, and make sure you guys stay tuned. Sunday night is when we'll be recording our Royal Rumble review, and that I'm sure most of y'all will see most of that mostly on Monday morning, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But before we get into Monday Night Raw itself from this past Monday, man, there's just been a lot of buzz, a lot of craziness in regards to just business. A lot of business and a lot of money was made. As well, the first big breaking news story is The Rock. The Rock is now officially a part of the TKO Board of Directors. So a lot of this was because of securing ownership of the trademark name The Rock. So now The Rock finally has the ownership of his own name, which is The Rock. So of course it was always owned by WWE, Vince McMahon, of course. So now that he is part of that board, he is now has full ownership of that name. So The Rock owns The Rock, if you want to think of it like that. And yeah, man. So before we get into the next big breaking news story in the show, honestly, Bryan, I'm shocked, but at the same time, I'm really not, because I even said it just a couple months ago when Vince McMahon left the board of directors, when he left TKO. You had a feeling something was up, because when it comes to Vince McMahon, whether he's running creative in the shows or whether it's just business, he's always a step or two ahead, always. Mm-hmm. And you had to think like he had to have his ducks in a row. And what better duck to have than the frickin' Rock, who also is good friends of, wait for it, Nick Khan. So it kind of also adds up, as well as for the past 13 years, The Rock has had a really good relationship with Endeavor. He's been a client of Endeavor's WMD agency for nearly that time frame. So again, everything kind of adds up. So when you definitely hear all of this information, it's definitely not a shock in regards to that. With all that being said, Bryan, I'm going to send this off over to you before we get into the other big news story. Just your thoughts, your reactions of The Rock, TKO, and just all the buzz that's happened over the past 48 hours, man. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Hopefully I won't take up too much time, because, I got a lot to say about The Rock in general. I mean, but first off, man, kudos to the fucking Rock, dude. I mean,
yeah,
you talk about, head of the table or head of tables or whatever. He now has a seat at the head of the head of the head of the table, and that's for him and his family, and just from where he was 30 years ago and whatever. It's just freaking awesome, man. So really, shout out to The Rock, man. Having him on the board of directors, man, I mean, look, I think that's freaking great. just for the wrestling part of it. We'll see what happens, but I mean, we've mentioned this before, but when you start talking about royal families of wrestling and shit, like, their family is head and shoulders above anybody, leaps and bounds, just with as many people. It just is the family business, so for The Rock to now have a seat at the table of the family industry of, and now which has turned into a multi billion media whatever conglomerate. Man, that's awesome. And because it's his family and it's so ingrained in them, and they're that I got to tie it into this, because I was listening to y'all's podcast the other day, and just kind of some of the pushback about the possibly The Rock being in the main event of WrestleMania, like, and a drawback being that he's 50 and maybe some ring rust and whatever. Like, this is that family's business. Like, I mean, there is not a chance in hell that either Roman or The Rock are going to go out there and embarrass the family in any way. Like, they are going to be prepared to do this match. Like, it's no question. Like, I can't. It's baffling that it even is a question for some people. To me, like, what are you looking at? Like, but anyway, that being said, man, I mean, yeah, I just think, if this is in kind of, Triple H isn't on the board of directors, right? He's just so he's not on the board of directors. But either way, like, The Rock being on the board of directors, and then Triple H and Khan, head of creative, or however that plays out, I really think those three, if they can kind of be the leaders and the catalyst of things going forward, they're in great hands, man. So yeah, man, I think it's all positive for Rock to be there, having a seat at that table. That's freaking awesome, man. No doubt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yes, guys, Triple H is not a part of the board of directors, nor should he. No shade to Triple H, and yes, he will stay pretty much just being in control of creative. At least that's what Endeavor has also given him pretty much the full control to do. Is to be a part, is just to book the shows and be full control and creative. Of course, people like Nick Khan, people like The Rock, as well as Ariel Manuel and others will take the business side of things as the board of directors. So, but yeah, man, I mean, like you said, big kudos to The Rock, and this is huge, man. This is really huge, and honestly, it's like I mentioned about a couple months ago. It's like everything kind of just ties in together, in regards to, like, okay, Vince McMahon, he sold all of his shareholders. He's left the board. It's like, okay, something's up, right? And now we know why, to bring in one of his buddies, The Rock, which you guys know Vince and The Rock. I'm sure they're just as tight as this, right? So, but yeah,
because they still have the XFL thing. Is Vince still is he still part of the XFL?
Yes, there's still at least, I'm not sure the exact relationship, but there is a relationship with the XFL, as well as The Rock, which again still also kind of ties in everything together, that The Rock also is part of, in business with XFL. You got Vince McMahon in there as well. So it all kind of just ties in together of the fact that it's not that shocking that The Rock is in this position. And kudos to him, man. I mean, guys, $30 million just to promote the brand. Like, this dude can just go on social media, wear a TKO shirt, just clanging and banging in the gym, and this dude's going to get paid freaking millions. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, honestly, the most, and like, I'm sure down the road, there'll be a movie about, The Rock or the whole, Samoan dynasty or whatever. But
yeah,
really, man, to me, that's the beautiful part of this whole thing, man, is going back decades and decades to anybody, all of them that have come through this industry, and to see where one of them is now, and what that means for the family at large. It's just freaking beautiful, man.
Yeah,
Really.
absolutely. And before we get into our next big breaking news story, Brian, I wanted to get your thoughts about this, and it kind of ties into kind of what The Rock and his image is in regards to being on this board. He says he wants to make wrestling bigger and better than what it is. He wants to help the business, right? And a lot of people on social media think like, oh, like because The Rock is in this position, like it's it's doomsday for Cody and WrestleMania. Now we're hearing stuff like that Cody Rhodes is not going to finish his story at WrestleMania now, like people from Sports
He may
Illustrated
not.
and such. And yeah, there's a big possibility, but
But I don't think that's because The Rock's coming back.
no, yeah.
Well,
Nor
yeah.
do I think that The Rock would ever try to abuse his power just to be in
No,
a certain
yeah.
position. I think The Rock has a more of a genuine long-term idea to really truly help pro wrestling.
Yeah,
In regards to that as well, like you said, just like the business and like I said, The Rock and the family heritage and all that. But Brian, I wanted to get your thoughts in regards to this, and this is where I get a little bit into the Cody discussion, and like freaking shout out to Richie Mars, who I was had the pleasure to be a part of his show just this past. We recorded it this past Sunday, and it just came out just yesterday. I'll also put links in the description with that, and we talked about this whole Cody Rhodes Rock discussion. Who should be facing Roman at Mania? What can Cody Rhodes do to not have that 50-50 type of reaction to get people to stay interested in finishing his story and such. But Brian, I wanted to get your thoughts about this, right? And the more and more I think about it, and Richie told about the fact that The Rock, and The Rock has mentioned this many times, he wants to do something that's never been done before, right? And a lot of that, I think, and now because that he's a part of the board and he's trying to help this business, and I just think of now just the booking side of things and WrestleMania in general. In regards to when The Rock also faced John Cena, and they made that like a yearly thing. And that could be kind of something that they could do with Roman and Rock in the near future. So, Brian, I'm going to send this off to you and question, because I'd love to get your thoughts about it. Would it be far-fetched to not have Roman and Rock this year, but to save it for next year? And just bear with me for a second. But you have Cody win this year's WrestleMania. But it's in regards to The Rock getting involved. So let's say freaking Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, they're all getting involved. Kind of same picture as last year, the way how Roman won at 39. And then boom, freaking The Rock comes out, freaking attacks freaking the Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes takes advantage of that. He wins the championship. He hoists up that championship on the grandest stage. He can take that championship. And of course, now he finishes his story, quote unquote. And then you can kind of yearly prolong Roman versus Rock for WrestleMania 41 of next year. And to be honest with you, Brian, I'm honestly okay with that. Now, it has to be from now till that WrestleMania 41 date. You can't prolong that any further than that. But if that's the plan, because now you can also have Roman and Rock without the championship, because we all know that this whole shtick doesn't even need the championship anyway. So if they were to kind of, put the stamp on it in regards to Rock getting involved, costing Roman the championship, Cody Rhodes hosting up that title, and now you can kind of prolong Roman versus Rock to where you can really tell this story in depth in regards to maybe just a couple months. So before we get into our next breaking news story, Brian, I'd love to get your thoughts about that. Would that be something that you would be okay with if Rock and Roman wasn't this year?
I guess it really would hinge on how long is Rock back for, as far as in-ring performing. Really that's what it is. Cause I mean, if it's, I don't see him, and you could tell it, in the part-time way that, we do with Roman now or Brock Lesnar when he comes back. But for me, and this is even going back to when Cody first came back. I mean, even back then, because what was it, that first Mania he came back, or was it last year where it was in LA? Which one was that?
It was WrestleMania 38 I believe it was in
That was in LA then,
Arlington. No, LA was last year.
right? LA was last
39
year.
when he
Okay.
lost to Roman, and then the year before that, I believe it was in Arlington in Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium, when when he was the surprise opponent for Seth. When he defeated Seth Rollins. I believe that's where they were. I apologize if that's not the correct location, but yeah, it was WrestleMania 38. He came back, that big return to WWE, defeated Seth, and then last year was when he lost to Roman in LA. It was last year.
So whenever it started, whether it was 1 year or two years ago, when you had both, Cody was back, and of course, he's telling his story. And then there's always the hints of Rock coming back. If we go back to like one of our first podcasts of last year, like whether it almost doesn't matter what Cody does or how well he does it. If there's a chance for Rock Roman at Mania, that is the match. Period. Mm-hmm. Like it's. I'm sorry to whoever's feeling gets hurt or whoever's left out, but that's the match. And so if we keep prolonging everything, next year, that's no, I'm not down for that. I mean, so like I said, if Rock is really going to be here, like you're like really competing to some semi-regular basis for the next like 2-3 years, then cool. But I don't really think that's what's going to happen here, especially now that he is on the board of directors. He's not going to be a full-time or even a part-time in-ring performer. At least I don't foresee that. So I say it's now, man. Look, I don't know how you get there or what you do with Cody, but look, and all the pushback of whether, The Rock is 50 years old or whatever, this nonsense. I mean, so's Adam Copeland. So's Punk's almost 50. Cena's almost 50. Christian. Many
Sting.
people are
Sting as well as in his 60s, bro. And this dude is still freaking crashing through tables, dude.
Right. Like, I feel like people are just grasping at straws at that point. And just take The Rock in general. Like, you go back to his height in the Attitude Era, and now the 25 years since then, like this man has done nothing but refine his diet and his training regimen to some freak level. Like this guy, and you're telling me he can't go out there and put on an awesome wrestling match? And again, not even the physical part aside, just their family and the love and the passion they have. They are not going out there and shitting the bed, people. Like, come on, man. But no, I would say, I'd say it's got to be this year, man. No Rock, that it does not need to be the title. It has nothing to do with the title, just the head of the table, whatever. That's it. But I think it's got to be this year.
Yeah. I mean, either this year or next year. I mean, you can't go beyond.
I can't even say next year, really, for me. I mean, it'll still be huge, and I'm damn sure still going to watch it whenever it happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely very unlikely, because I know that's been pitched a lot, because just again what The Rock has told us and just everything in regards to this TKO deal, it just makes you think in regards to like, man, could they prolong this to another year? Because people are like, hey, Roman and Rock, this is a story that deserves maybe just more than just a couple months of a story to be told, as well as not having the title involved. But yeah, to your point as well.
That's my thing with it too. Like if he's here for a long time, because like I mentioned, this is the royal family. If you want to tell like a real, like, okay, you're going to tell a year-long story with these guys, fucking bet. Okay.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if he's going to be there for a year to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've even spoken about that too. It's just like the only thing that can hinder Roman versus Rock. It's like, okay, Roman is also just as more part-time than anybody else on that roster. And it would definitely be interesting to see how how much are they available to tell this story, even if it is at this year's WrestleMania. So, but we shall soon find out, man. Again, there's a lot more questions than they are answers, at least in regards to that whole Roman Rock as well as Cody situation. And we'll talk more about it, I'm sure, as we get closer and closer to Mania. But let's get into this next big breaking news story. This was just legit right after this whole TKO and The Rock story came up. And that is Monday Night Raw as a whole. Monday Night Raw is going to Netflix. That's right, guys. Monday Night Raw, the episodic television show, cable television show over the past 3 decades, is going to be no more, as it is now going to a legit streaming service that is Netflix, as that will be started. That deal will be official January of 2025. As of course, Monday Night Raw has their deal with the USA Network. That deal will end as of October 24th, the same month and time frame that SmackDown will be starting their TV rights deal with the USA Network as well. So it's interesting. And of course, the deal in regards to that, it is 10 years worth $5 billion. And of course, this will be streamed, of course, in the United States as well as internationally. There is no effect in regards to it's not affected by TV rights deals with the USA Network, but eventually Netflix, during that time, once I believe the deal is in process, they will have premium live events and SmackDown, NXT. They will have the rights to all of that once the deal is in place. So, it's definitely it's definitely, again, something that I'm not shocked about, Brian, but I'm also shocked in a way, if that makes sense. Because again, and I've said it from the jump, it's like I've said it about with Nick Khan. He's been wanting to get deals with the USA Network. They've been trying to get deals with Fox, and you know what they've all said? They've given him Das Boot because, bro, your ratings are absolutely putrid. And I've even spoken about Amazon Prime, because that's where I thought WWE was going to go, was Amazon Prime. As of course, Nick Khan has been trying to get a deal done with Amazon Prime. And I'm guessing, and I said this even on a TikTok in regards to, Netflix was the only best available offer that Nick Khan and WWE was most likely looking for in regards to that. As well, this will probably be a good excuse for WWE to move Raw off of Monday nights, because I'm sure you guys know when it comes to Monday nights, there's been a lot of stiff competition in regards to sporting events, holidays, and this is kind of a way to get Raw off of Monday nights to possibly, who knows, on Tuesday, a Wednesday night. We'll soon find out in regards to that. And then, of course, you still have this SmackDown deal. Where is SmackDown going to end up? But before I get to your thoughts, Brian, I just want to make things clear in regards to why this deal was pretty much done. And I have 3 reasons. I even said it on the Facebook page and all over social media. The first reason is these network executives. Like, they're not going to have a show they can't afford to have a show, a weekly show, an episodic television show that only draws an average of 1.3 to 1.5 million viewers on average. It's just not going to happen, especially consistently. So that's the first reason. The second reason, like I just mentioned earlier about Nick Khan, the dude was just not getting any other offer from any other TV rights deals, not USA Network, not Fox, and I'm sure not even Amazon Prime, as I'm sure he's been really trying to itch to get Amazon Prime as well. And then, of course, the third reason, like I mentioned earlier, is to get Monday Night Raw to get Raw off of Mondays, because of stiff competition, how they feel like they can get more people to tune in regards to if it's off on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday. So those are probably the main 3 reasons of why this decision was made. So, but we shall see, man. And honestly, the first thing I kind of came to mind, Brian, and I'll send this off to you as I said this, of course, this is a great business decision, right? And this is just kind of the world we live in regards to subscriptions, from people like freaking Amazon Prime, like I've spoken about. There's people like Peacock. Guys, there was an NFL game on Peacock on the NFL play. There's a lot of these games. Major League Baseball, they're having
Amazon
games
Prime,
on Amazon
Hulu,
Prime, on Apple
Hulu,
TV.
Are they getting anything?
Apple TV. So yeah, it's just like you're seeing this more and more, and now WWE is in the same vicinity as of right now. And what sucks is that, like, and I even said this too, Brian, it's like, not a lot of people can afford a monthly subscription. I mean, we've seen, there's a lot of people I'm sure that have stories about having to cancel subscriptions because they can't pay for it, or they can't afford to pay for that monthly subscription. Now, maybe they might do something in regards to like, oh, you pay for this subscription, you get like a month free when you first sign up for your subscription or something like that. But still, man, like now there's not a lot of people in this world that can barely afford cable television. And now you're telling something that you have to tell those people to now pay to watch Monday Night Raw on a monthly basis. So, but still, it's great business. Now, I mean, like I said, there's other organizations, other, brands like Major League Baseball, NFL, and as well as basketball that are all doing the same thing. So it's interesting, man. That's just Raw is Netflix, so, and that's it, man. I got some more statements in regards to it, but Brian, I'll send this off to you, man. Your thoughts, man. Raw heading to Netflix. Your thoughts. Talk to me.
Well, my first initial thought was with Netflix, there's no it's nothing's live, right? On Netflix right now. There's no like live option. So like, how is everything just going to be taped? And you know what I mean? Like, how's it going to be consumed? I guess like how, that's my first question. Because I mean, if it's not an option where you can watch it live, that's going to really take something away from it, for me. And that's just my personal opinion. But then the second thought was, and I got to give a shout out to our man Shane, who joined us on the roundtable last week, where now they wouldn't be bound by restrictions of your network television. So I mean, promos and vignettes and shit could be really good. Man.
You can get away with a lot of stuff that you can now put on your product, to where you couldn't necessarily get away with that when it comes to being in a TV agreement with the USA Network. And I even mentioned that as well. And shout out to Shane, because he mentioned that as well. So in regards to like pros and cons, that's definitely a pro in regards to this whole situation, where you can kind of really develop more of an edgier product in regards to like more of a cookie cutter situation that you couldn't do on cable television with the USA Network. But Brian, continue.
Yeah. And just, I mean, as far as them going to Netflix, I mean, look, I'm not really the guy to talk to about like, TV deals and this network and that network. But I mean, it seems that like everything is going to some subscription service in place of your basic or your regular cable. And that's been going on for a while now. I mean, I don't know, just in the US, like how many subscriptions or Netflix, would you estimate there are right now, just within the US? So,
oh man,
I mean, just the option, I know they only get like a 1.5 live on a Monday night or whatever. But if it's available out there, just, on Netflix, and like I said, that's where I don't know if the live aspect comes into it, but I mean, there's a shit ton of people that already have the subscription. Whether they choose to watch WWE on it or not, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be like there's not going to be this huge surge in like people signing up for Netflix because WWE's going there. That people already have Netflix, a shit ton of them. So I think that's a good move just for future. I mean, everything seems to be going that way. So. It is what it is, man. I don't fully understand it, but that's where we're going.
Yeah. No, and there's still a lot of also concerns, but there's also a lot of pros as of right now. And I'm sure once this deal gets going by next year, I should say, I'm sure a lot more of those questions will be answered in regards to like, will it be live? Can you watch it live? This and this and that.
Right.
In regards to that, as well, I'm sure you can also watch these shows. I'm guessing, when the shows are finished, you can like search it up and you can watch it, on a different day or whatever. But to end this, man, and it's going to be interesting with the USA Network because, their deal with Monday Night Raw ends, of course, like I mentioned, October of 2024. And that's around the time that SmackDown is going to be going to the USA Network. And again, this deal doesn't get started with Netflix until January 2025. So you would think, and USA Network for the longest time has had a pretty good relationship with WWE. I'm sure that there's going to be some type of an extension agreement with both USA Network and WWE, just to at least for them to get to that January 25th, 2025 date.
Yeah,
In
because that's
regards
was that
to it.
2.5 months. Yeah, they'll work something out
Yeah,
there.
I'm sure they'll work something out in regards to like a 2 to maybe 3 month extension in regard to that. But yeah, it'll also be interesting in regards to like SmackDown. Does SmackDown go over to Monday nights? Do they stay on Friday? So that's also another question in regards to that as well. I know, like I said, in premium live events are still on Peacock as of right now, but by the time the deal is in place and it's in gear, all those premium live events will be on Netflix as well. So, yeah, man, in
And
business,
I imagine that would still be the same deal as Peacock, right? Where if you have an account with Peacock, you don't then have to pay for the premium live event on top of
yeah,
that. You already have the subscription.
pretty much.
Yeah,
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 pretty much. That's pretty much set in stone. Pretty much the same thing in
yeah.
regards to it. But yeah, man, in business, man, there's always more money to be made, and this is just another big prime example of it, man. It's just interesting, and I'm sure a lot of us who have just gotten used to Raw just being on weekly cable television, and now by this time next year, now we got to get used to this whole new dynamic in
I mean,
regards to it.
it's the longest episodic television show in history.
Yeah,
What is it? 30 years? 30?
30
What?
yeah, 30
30
plus
plus?
years. Yeah, 30
Yeah.
plus years. So, and now it's going to be
Or is
no more,
Simpsons?
dude.
Is Simpsons longer? I don't know.
No, it's
Simpsons
not.
are
No, Monday night. I think Monday Night Raw is the longest.
gotcha.
Yeah, I think the Simpsons are in that list, but no, I think
Yeah.
Monday Night Raw is at the top as of right now in
Yep.
regards to weekly
30 plus years,
episodic
man.
television. 30 plus years, man. As I know, I think WWE or somebody posted that whole 30-year anniversary show that they did just last year
This
with
is
they
last
had
year. Yeah, that's right, right.
with Undertaker and Bray and that whole LA Knight spiel and
Yep.
everything, and that whole big anniversary show. So, but yeah, 30 plus years, man, and now all of that is changed in the
Hmm.
snap of a finger. This is huge, man. Regardless if we
Yeah.
like it or not, man, this is huge, and this is big business type of stuff, and this is big for not just, I'm sure, the fans, but for the company as well as the streaming services and just everybody involved. So, but yeah, man, just again, it's just the world that we live in. Like I said, we're seeing a lot with sporting, with a lot of other sports, with
Hmm.
baseball, football, basketball, and now WWE and pro wrestling is now falling into that same category. So, but we'll see. But let's get into Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw itself from this past Monday. Of course, like I said earlier, this is Rumble week. This is the go home show, the big go home show until the Royal Rumble. But I first want to talk about, man, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. That's the first thing I want to discuss in regard to this, man. So they were in the main event of Monday Night Raw. Why? I don't know. R-Truth was involved, again, and I love R-Truth, man. R-Truth is just doing everything in his power to make everything about what that main event worked. And I've spoken about it before. It's just like Drew McIntyre, he's supposed to be this heel, and now you have Damian Priest, again, a guy who's holding on to a briefcase that has no right or has no business in cashing in on anybody right now. And it's just a weird situation that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest are in. Now we know, of course, with Drew McIntyre, his contract is going to be ending coming up after WrestleMania. We've spoken about that, so I'm not sure if this plays a part of that in regards to where Drew McIntyre is with his booking. So yeah, but freaking R-Truth was trying to go out there, make something out of nothing. He's screaming at Damian Priest, "What's the password to your briefcase so I can give you your cut?" It's like, it's funny, man. And I will say,
Yeah.
and even Damian Priest early on in the night was in a really funny segment backstage, was with Rhea Ripley, as of course DIY is going to be in a tag title match against Balor and Priest for the tag titles. And freaking Rhea Ripley's and Damian Priest like, "Listen, man, I got this tag title situation. I got this briefcase that I'm trying to cash in. I got R-Truth breathing down my neck, and here you are, Rhea, like making all these matches. You know what you need to do? Stop going into Pierce's office." So like, it was just the realism of his voice It was it was good. And I like Damian, man. You guys know that. I really like Damian. The problem is with Damian Priest is that he's holding on to a briefcase that's just, it's hurting him more than it's helping him. Because again, he has no business in cashing in on anybody right now. And then with Drew, man, I don't know. Could he still be in this world title picture, whether that's with freaking, I don't know, whether it is with Seth or whoever? I don't know. So Drew's situation right now is just weird, man, in regards to just his identity, right? Like he played a lot of times in this match as the face in this match, and it's just like, it's just a weird pairing, and I just don't like it, man, especially with R-Truth. And I'll end it with this. I really like R-Truth. He's comedy gold. You guys know that. But guys, are we really going to end Monday Night Raw with a comedy shtick with R-Truth and Priest? And like, guys, come on, man. And I even said it to Cody, and we're going to get to it later. Cody and Punk should have ended the night off. That freaking face-off that they had in hour number 3, that should have been the way to. And again, I get it. It's face versus face, though, James. So why are you complaining about heel versus heel? But guys, it relates to the Rumble, right? You have two guys that are most likely going to be the final participants in that Rumble when it's all said and done. Cody and Punk are probably going to be
they're two of the final four. Yeah,
two of the final four. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like two of the final participants, final four, final three, whatever you want to call it, that is going to be a part of it. So it makes you feel like, man, I'm excited for this Rumble. I want to see this interaction when they're in the ring, both Punk as well as Cody. And with Drew and Priest, it's just like, again, it's just a weird, odd pairing. And again, it's the comedy's fine. I just would not end the show with that. I'm sorry. As much as I like R-Truth, in no way, shape, or form should that be ending the show. And I'm just going to put it at that. So, Brian, your thoughts, man, on Priest, Drew McIntyre, this match, as well as R-Truth and everything else as a whole, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I've been liking, the R-Truth, insertion here to the Judgment Day. But, I mean, maybe I was wrong or we'll see. But, and we've spoken about it here before too. Rhea's getting the cheers now. Damian and R-Truth, Damian's kind of softening up and kind of, being lenient with R-Truth and playing into that. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of thought they were good. This was just kind of prolonging, setting them up to turn them face. But I mean, I guess by the way it ended, you would have to say Damian kind of doubled down on being a heel, since he kicked, threw R-Truth out of the ring. So I don't know how that proceeds. I mean, R-Truth's still the same kind of character where, even though Damian kicked his ass and threw him out of the ring, he could still just doesn't get it,
Yeah. No, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a good layer. It's at least it's a positive, but there's just so much just I don't know, just uncertainty in regards to where is this going? Could the Judgment Day maybe turn face? I mean, I guess, man, but I don't know. Damian Priest as a baby face, man, that's just, I mean, if he doesn't really truly have a full connection with an audience, then how are you gonna then make people care and cheer for him as a face, right? Rhea Ripley's already doing that, and that's great for her. R-Truth, again, he's comedy gold. People love him. But with Damian Priest, man, it's weird. It's a weird concept with Damian Priest. And again, I just believe it's just the fact that Priest just has this briefcase. And again, I don't know if this is going to lead it to a failed cash in or whatever it is, man, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's very,
I would kind of say almost because so you have it for a year up until the next Money in the Bank, right? Which is, when is that?
I believe it'll be July? Sometime maybe in the summer, July. I want to say probably right before SummerSlam. So maybe June, July, in that middle of the summer, probably.
I mean, if we're talking about, the title picture having Punk and Rhodes and Rollins and Reigns, Orton, maybe Styles, he's not cashing in and beating any of those guys.
Nobody.
Right. So I don't know, man.
And that's what I'm, Brian. And I said it from the jump. I said it from that Money in the Bank review. I said, why? And again, as much as we like Damian Priest, and yes, there's something there, because I don't want to get that, like, I don't want to blur the lines in regards to that. I'm not saying that Damian Priest is not a good talent. He's a very good talent.
No, he's
Like I
going to
said,
be a star.
I
I
enjoyed that
firmly believe.
interaction with him and Rhea Ripley backstage. Like, there's something there. Like, he has it. It's just not there yet. And it's like they're trying to give him this briefcase and hope and pray that he's going to get over. But that's the thing. Like, you can't give somebody this Money in the Bank briefcase and hope and pray that that's going to get people to care. It's just not. But you know who already was over? Freaking LA Knights that I freaking mentioned in that review. So, and that's,
I almost kind of feel like
thing.
sometimes with WWE and the Money in the Bank specifically, is like I feel like you should have a plan for whoever it is you choose that you think is going to win the Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
you should have like a 6 to 8 month plan, after that. And maybe they do, but it seems like more times than not, it's just like, okay, they got the Money in the Bank. Now, how do we tell the story? Now we got to think of it.
Yeah, and that's honestly how I feel about WWE booking, man, or just creative. It's just like I truly feel like there's no long-term longevity with booking anymore. Everything is kind of like just snap of the finger. All right, let's give Damian the briefcase. Let's prolong it for a few months, and then we'll just go from there. We'll see if there's anything for him in a couple of months. Let's just have him maybe do a couple failed cash-ins, like, oh, somebody else rushed in the ring, and let's just keep him in that bubble. Like, because that's what Damian Priest is in right now. He's just, at least in regards to like the title picture and winning a cashing in this briefcase, he's just in this bubble. As well as, of course, with the tag titles and everything else, which is a different story. But yeah, it's just interesting. And again, there's Drew McIntyre too, to where, okay, it was cool. Like, I guess to a degree, you wanted to prolong the turn. You did the turn. And now, like, he costs another heel a chance to cash in the briefcase. So I don't know. And I like Drew. I actually do like Drew McIntyre. He's just one of those heels that is very just straightforward. He just tells you like it is. But when you put him in with another heel and you still have him do those babyface tendencies in a matchup, which he did in this match, it's like, who are you? Like, are you really a diabolical heel? Are you not? And that's what I just don't get about Triple H and always throwing in a face against another face, a heel against a heel, because somebody's going to out heel the other one, and someone's going to just be more of the face and the star than the other face. And we'll get to that whole spiel with Cody and Punk later on. But so, yeah, it's just, there is some good with R-Truth, because again, I've spoken about it, how weird it is, but it works to a degree. Like Judgment Day and R-Truth, it's such a weird pairing, but it works. But at least for Priest and the Judgment Day, it's just, I don't know. You still got Rhea that's being cheered and everything. It's just, I don't know. It's just a very odd situation. And again, you end the night with that, which is so odd to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a match. Like, the match should have never been a thing, Brian, to be quite honest with you. But if you're going to do that matchup, like, especially if R-Truth's involved, like, again, I like R-Truth. Guy's great. That should have not whatsoever ended Monday Night Raw freaking this past Monday. Not at all. But who knows, man? I mean, we'll see in regards to Priest. Let's, if this leads into a failed cash-in with Drew McIntyre, where does he go? Maybe they set something up with him and Sami Zayn still when Sami Zayn comes back. Who knows? Maybe Zayn could come back for the Rumble. We talked about it on the roundtable. There's a lot of projected returns, coming up for this Rumble. Sami Zayn could be one of them, and that could set something up for Zayn and Drew. So we'll see, man. We shall soon find out. But let's get into this, our next topic here. And that regards with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, who started the night off, of course, addressing the fans in regards to his torn MCL, as well as his partially torn meniscus. Addressing the crowd. He's like, listen, there's a good chance I could miss WrestleMania, but, doctors and I, we're going to take it day by day, this and this and that. Gunther comes out with his IC title. They have a face-to-face interaction, and Gunther's like, I'm ashamed that there's a chance you might miss WrestleMania or whatever. And then Seth Rollins is like, well, you didn't let me finish, Gunther. I don't give a damn what a doctor tells me. Nothing's going to stop me from carrying this title into WrestleMania. And then Gunther's like, listen, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble and I'm challenging you. I'm going to target your knee. I'm going to target your back. I'm going to batter and bruise you. And then they shake hands. I guess.
Yeah.
Brian, again, listen, it was a fine interaction. I was fine with it, but it's just like, again, this handshaking thing. You just threaten this dude that I'm going to break your back. I'm going to freaking tear your knee apart. But here, let's shake hands. You want to grab coffee in the back? What do you like? Black? You want it with some cream and sugar? What do you like, bro? Freaking yeah. Can't wait to fuck you over at WrestleMania, by the way. That's going to be great. What the fuck are we doing? It's so freaking odd to me. I don't know. The whole handshaking thing was just, it threw me off. It's just, I don't freaking get it. But yeah, man. And here's what I'll say about Rollins, because that's a whole different spiel. The segment was fine. It was just the handshaking was just fucking weird. Anyway, and Brian, I'd love to get your thoughts about this, right? Rollins, and I truly believe this, Seth Rollins will wrestle, will have a match at WrestleMania this year. I 100, whether it's with Punk or whoever, but Gunther maybe, because now that's a discussion now. He's going to take this time off. He's going to rehab. And I truly feel like he's going to wrestle at Mania, and then he's going to have a more extended time off after WrestleMania. That's how I truly feel in regards to this. I truly feel that Seth is going to do everything he can to have this, to go into WrestleMania as champion and have this match, whether it's with Punk or whoever. But you know what? And it came to mind, man, like if that is the case, right? Because if that's the case, to have Rollins be at WrestleMania, and I've said this before, it's just like, and Stone Cold is a great example of this and what I'm about to say. Brian, and you know this more than I do. It's like that whole spiel with Stone Cold and the beer truck, the limousine stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was all during a time to where Stone Cold was injured, correct? Or had some type of an injury at that time? I want to say
some of it would have been, I'd have to go back. Some of it would have been, and others not. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But okay. So what I'm saying is that, I don't want them to just rest on the fact that, okay, Seth Rollins is hurt. Let's keep him off TV. And then boom, once WrestleMania gets here, we'll have the match, and then boom.
Right.
I would love, Brian, if they can find a way to still have Seth Rollins a part of the show, and without wrestling, of course. Like, he doesn't even need to wrestle. Just put him in really cool segments, right? That can maybe prolong him and Punk or him and Gunther or whoever it is, right? Like, it's stuff that's, because again, it's like, I use this type of terminology, right? It's like when it comes to like pitchers in baseball, right? It's like pitchers as they get older, that hard 95 plus mile an hour fastball just starts to, it's not the same anymore. You start to lose velocity as you get older, and it just happens, right? But then as you get older, you start to be a little bit wiser. It's like, okay, I can't throw this fastball the way I used to, but let me try to add other layers to pinpoint my way to, be the best pitcher I can be. And with Seth, even though, yes, he's dealing with this injury, and the main, what sticks out to him is, of course, mainly the wrestling, right? Of course, being the workhorse and the wrestling, but now you can add another layer to remind people like Seth, not only is he a workhorse, not only is he a great wrestler, but this dude is a really, really good character. Put him in good segments backstage, just something that could still get people interested to watch Seth Rollins wrestle at Mania. Because again, he's not going to wrestle, but you don't have to rely on him not wrestling and just say, oh, well, he can't wrestle. Let's just take him off TV. No, man. If he's still your world champion, keep him on television. Have him in segments backstage, in the parking lot, something. Just get creative. I really hope that that's the case in regards to that, Brian, because I don't want to just have him off TV, kind of be, not maybe forgotten about, but just kind of like the intrigue of maybe Punk and whether it's Gunther, whoever it is, kind of dies down a little bit because he's just not on the show because he's injured. So I hope, if he can, of course, have him on the show and do some really cool segments and storytelling with him. And that's it, man. That's what I hope that they can do. Again, whether it's Gunther and Punk, and we're going to get to Punk later on, but that's just an idea that I just had in regards to that. But Brian, I'd love to get your thoughts about that. Your thoughts about Seth, the update on his injury, the segment with Gunther, and everything else, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess judging by the promo, I would say he's I would bet on him being there at WrestleMania as of right now. But we'll see. Of course, he's going to come out and say that. But
yeah,
the interaction with Gunther. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it.
no, I
But
didn't
now we're
either.
just at the point where, like, okay, we get it. Like, everybody's coming after Rollins, right? Like, so, and to your point about, like, I'm almost at the point where, like, I wouldn't mind Rollins being off TV just because I know I'd have to think about it. There's other ways you could do it, but like in the examples you were giving with like Stone Cold, like he wasn't the champion then, so he was still, he was going after McMahon or going after The Rock. So to have him come out there and like hit a stunner or do like the beer truck thing, and then head to the locker room, that's great. But if Rollins being the champion and everybody coming after him, there's not really much he can do in as far as like, because why would he be out there antagonizing anybody or whatever? Like, he's trying to heal up and everybody keep away from me. And then to the point about like his, you and I have talked about it. Like, what is his character other than his song? And he's a good wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more of the mindset, like, at least until after the Rumble, which is, if you want him to come out there, next Monday after obviously the winner of the Rumble is, we know who that is, sure, have him do something there. But other than that, I mean, because every time he's going to go out there, it's just going to be a 3 to 5 minute sing along and his laugh. And then he can't even wrestle or can't do anything other than that. So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm okay with him being on or off TV. Like I said, I at this point, I'm just it's just really going to be interesting to see who wins the Rumble, because there's really at least 5 guys you could make a decent case for. Where most of the time it's not. It's maybe 1 or 2 guys. So yeah, I say, there's no reason. Well, he's not going to be at SmackDown anyway. You got the Rumble. He's not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even really need to be at the Raw after Rumble. I'm okay if he's not there,
Mm-hmm.
and it just be the night for whoever does win the Rumble. That's their night. So yeah, I'm cool either way, but I'd bet on him being there at Mania.
Yeah, and same here as well. I definitely bet on it as well. But yeah, it's just an idea and just a thought in regards to just like keeping people invested in regards to, because again, if Seth Rollins is going to fight at Mania, you want him to still be involved in some type of segment. And yeah, it makes sense because he's the champion. So it wouldn't make sense for him to be there anyway, because you already got people coming after him. So I don't know. And like you said, and yeah, they could, if they were to have him on the show, they could just have him just go out there, people singing his song, his arms are out and everything, right?
Yeah.
But man, but if they could truly get creative, man, like just
no, I wish
really
they would to actually make a character out of him. Give some depth to the shit. Like,
absolutely. That's what I mean, man. Like add some depth in regards to like what he's doing with Punk or what he's doing with Gunther. Let's say if Gunther wins the Rumble, and like do some stuff to where, like, again, of course, and it depends on, like what doctors say and what he can do and what he can't do, but just get creative to where it doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't jeopardize the match at WrestleMania than it already kind of is at this point. But because I agree with you. Like, I believe he definitely is going to wrestle, or he's going to have a said match at WrestleMania. But we'll see, man, in regards to it. It's, I just still want there to be some type of intrigue in the match, and just instead of like, all right, he's off of TV. It's been about a month or 2. Okay, now Seth Rollins is back. All right, let's have this matchup, everybody, like in 6 days, right? 6 days before before WrestleMania. Like, are we really, you know what I mean? So,
no, I hear you.
It's an interesting situation in regards to it. And of course, it's unfortunate with this injury and just how I'm sure WWE is going to have to call a lot of audibles and stuff in regards to, I mean, who knows, with the Rumble, Elimination Chamber. That definitely changes a lot of things. It's good news to the fact where there is hope and a possibility that Rollins is going to have a match at Mania. And like I said, Brian, I'm with you. I definitely believe that Rollins is going to find a way that he will have this said matchup at WrestleMania and walk in to WrestleMania as your champion. So, and yeah, the whole thing with Gunther, and it's going to be interesting with this IC title situation. So it's like, okay, he's going to win the Rumble and he's going to challenge Seth, still holding on to this IC championship. So that's another big question there. But again, we also we expect it to just be CM Punk that wins the Rumble and he challenges Seth and he calls out Seth while he's home licking his wounds when he comes back from his injury or whatever. So who knows, man? We shall soon find out in regards to that. But much love to Seth. Thankfully, just continue to have thoughts and prayers for him that, rehabilitation, everything goes well, and that he does have that big matchup at Mania, because he does deserve it. He has worked his freaking tail off this entire calendar year to have that moment at WrestleMania. So we shall soon find out, man. We shall see, and we'll keep you guys posted in regards to his injury and seeing how things prolong going into the Rumble as well as after the Rumble. So before we get into our final topic, man, I do want to say this in regard to the ladies, and I'll try to make this short, as Nia Jax and Becky Lynch were at a face-to-face segment, and Bayley and Damage Control were on Monday Night Raw. Now my first freaking thought was like, why are these ladies on Raw? Because they're freaking SmackDown competitors, and they were invited by Adam Pearce to be on the show, and I get it to a degree. It's Royal Rumble. So this is what I'm thinking, right, Brian? It's like, okay, Bayley and Damage Control are on Raw. Like, if you're going to have them on this show, which I'm cool with, like brand split, like whatever, that's just a different discussion. Right. But if you're going to have them on this show, you got to have something like really creative for Bayley and Damage Control to really get people talking about Bayley and Damage Control and prolonging that story, as well as getting people intrigued with the Rumble. Guys, all they had Bayley do was interrupt this face-to-face segment and get squashed by Nia Jax. And that was it. Now kudos to Nia Jax. She looked like a beast, and that's great. And then Becky Lynch, like, she gets tossed over the top rope. It's like, oh, like this is what could happen at the Royal Rumble. It's that easy to toss Becky Lynch over the top rope. And then, like, Becky Lynch, she's supposed to be the Mon. She's supposed to be the superhero baby face. And then, like, she just walks away. So Bayley gets squashed. Becky just runs away from Nia. And that's it. Now, again, great for Nia Jax because you want to continue to build her up. But what about Becky Lynch? She looks like a little fucking bitch just running away. And then Bayley, she makes this big appearance on Raw. And all she did was get squashed by Nia. So it's fucking weird.
Is Nia going to win? I don't know, man.
I think at this point, Brian, I think anything is honestly on the table in regards to it. Maybe in regards to, and I don't know, this kind of came to mind. And Brian, let me know what you think. I'll send this off to you and I'll say more about this whole spiel. Like, could there be a chance, because the fact that Rhea, of course, has been cheered as of late, and Elimination Chamber is going to be in Australia.
Yep.
Because Nia Jax is the heel, and you don't want to blur the lines with her and Nia Jax because they're both playing the heels, would it be far-fetched to have that Nia Rhea Ripley match at Elimination Chamber?
No.
Who knows?
No, not at all.
And then you'd have the Becky versus Rhea Ripley matchup at Mania. Or hopefully, freaking fingers crossed, they don't put it into a freaking triple threat. But who freaking knows, man? But that's just the case because, again, you don't want to. You want to have, because like going into Australia, it's like, okay, she's from there, so her getting cheered.
She's going to be the face there regardless.
Yeah, she's going to be the face there regardless. So why not put her up against Nia Jax that's already the heel? So, and I get it. It may be the bare minimum to some degree, but I'd rather them do that to where it's more far-fetched to say like, oh, it's in Australia. Rhea Ripley's from Australia. She's going to get cheered. Rather than having her face Nia Jax at WrestleMania to where it's in Philly, and now you're still, you're blurring the lines because it's in Philly and she gets cheered. She's playing the heel. You've got Nia's playing the heel. So I don't know. I still think, honestly, Brian, it's going to come down to and we spoke about it on the roundtable, probably Becky Lynch as well as Bayley. And I think Nia Jax is honestly in that conversation. Those three will honestly be a part of the final four in that Rumble,
probably. Yep.
But we'll see, man. But Bryan, your thoughts, man, just real quickly before we get into our final topic, your thoughts on the ladies in that segment with Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, and Bayley.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes sense for Elimination Chamber, a match with her and Jax. And I'd be okay with that. I ultimately, whether it be Bayley or Jax or I don't know, somebody else, like I just, and it's my personal opinion, call me a hater, whatever. I just don't think the WrestleMania match, Becky against Rhea, that doesn't really appeal to me at all, really. It just doesn't. I think there are a handful of women. Again, we talk about or use the word deserved or earned or whatever.
Yeah.
Any of them have. I just feel there's somebody else needs to be, can be, has the talent to be, has proven themselves to be worthy of that spot.
Yeah.
And that's just where I'm at with it. Not that I think, I mean, yeah, it's still going to be a good match. I'm not shitting on Becky. She's a great wrestler.
Right.
But it's just like I said in the roundtable, man. I'm done with the Becky and Charlotte. Always, maybe we'll sprinkle Bianca or Asuka every once in a while.
And that's a question too about Bianca. Like, where does Bianca go in regards to all of this too? Like, Bianca's up in the air in regards to, like, she can get inserted into this whole business as well. But yeah, and I even spoken about too, Bryan. And I understand people, you can take it with a grain of salt of how people feel about her, how you think about her as a talent. But Liv Morgan, man, I mean, Liv Morgan against Rhea Ripley, there's a storyline there. You could say that she well deserves or has earned that type of spotlight with the storyline that you have with Rhea Ripley. So, but yeah, I mean, but I hear what you're coming from, man, in regards to Becky, like, especially winning the Rumble. And I even said it too. Like, she doesn't need that accolade to get to Rhea Ripley anyway.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's just that and that she wins and just to get it, it's somebody else should be winning the Rumble.
It's like Brock, unless it's like Brock Lesnar winning the Rumble or anybody, like it's like those guys don't need the Rumble to get to that title match, man. Like, it's not needed. It's just not needed at all. With Bayley, again, I'm honestly, personally, and again, I don't like to talk like this, but me personally, I would love to see Bayley win it. I don't think she's going to win it. I think it's going to be in regards to, like, Damage Control is going to eliminate her, maybe vice versa, and that kind of sets up the split, and that sets up Io Sky and Bayley. Maybe that's where they kind of insert Bianca in that situation, maybe, because when it comes to heels and faces now, we just love to play the tweener shtick. Does Bayley just play the tweener shtick? Does Io Sky play the tweener shtick? And that's where you add Bianca Belair to kind of blur the lines. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting as well. Of course, you got the whole Jade Cargill. There's already been speculation about Jade Cargill. Of course, Naomi, as well as Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. So a lot of big surprises that are rumored to happen, but we shall see, man. Of course, I guess that's what makes the Royal Rumble so special. The unpredictability a little bit. Who is going to win, who's not, who's going to return, who's not. So, but we shall soon find out, man. So just thought we'd speak a little bit about that. But let's get into this final topic of today's show. And that was the big face-to-face, the one that's taken headlines from the show. And that was Cody Rhodes and Punk, the big face-to-face in hour number 3. Dude, awesome. And we talked about it, frickin' Bryan, just before we got on here. Really, truly solid, tremendous face-to-face segment.
Yeah.
And again, and I don't know why, and again, I'm going to keep saying it, I don't know why this didn't end the show. I just don't get it, but whatever, it is what it is. But so Punk comes out first, Cody Rhodes comes out, and Cody Rhodes does his shtick. He's like, so what do you want to talk about, Punk, or CM Punk? What do you want to talk about? He's like, I want to talk about your dad. And I'm like, like, where's Christian Cage at? Anybody? Right? But anyway, all seriousness. So he's like, listen, he talks about his relationship with Cody and how he's like, hey, Dusty called me. he wanted to do me a favor. He's like, look out for my boy Cody when he was in OVW at the time. The American Dream asked you to do a favor. You can't say no. So they talk about Dusty and that whole spiel and everything, they talk about in regards to like, man, look at us, man. It's like we're two kind of polar opposites. You with the nice suit, me, I'm looking like I just came out of the gym with the sweats and everything. He's like, man, it's like and then he lays down the pipe bomb, if you want to call it. Like it seems like I'm more of the American Dream than you are. And then that's when like, oh snap. And then that's when Cody was like, all right, like this is what we're gonna do. He's like, all right. He's like, listen, I want to talk about the pipe bomb, right? He's like, listen, like you set up on that stage, you said everything you needed to say, and then you left. You left for a while. You left, and you passed the torch. You didn't pass any torch. You just left it at the doorstep. But guess who picked up that torch? I did, and I did everything that you said in that promo. So I guess that makes me more CM Punk than you. And that's where Punk is like taking off the freaking sweatshirt, and he's like, man, it just got a little hot in here or whatever. And then like and of course that's both baby faces, and this is where I kind of liked it, honestly. They got face to face. Freaking Punk went to leave. He's like, before we do anything that we regret or whatever, Punk goes on to leave. He kind of bumps into him a little bit. They get face to face, like legit nose to nose, guys. I'm not joking. Like face to face. I'm sure people have seen it on social media by now, but they get really good face to face or whatever. And then they start to back away. Like, sorry, let's settle this. We're gonna see each other in the Rumble. Let's settle it then. Let's walk away before we do something that we regret. And they both kind of just walk on the opposite ends of the ring. And that was the segment. Cody Rhodes walks up the ramp, and then Punk leaves the ring on the opposite side. And that's your segment, man. Hey, really freaking well done, man. If there's a segment that can get me excited for the Rumble, that was freaking it. So I'll explain a little bit more in regards to it. But Bryan, I'd love to get your thoughts, man. This Punk and Cody Rhodes promo in hour number 3 of Raw. Floor is yours, man. Take it away.
I agree, man. It was fantastic. Great promo by both of them. That should have ended the show for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think this is kind of. I mean, we'll get a CM Punk Cody Rhodes feud at some point, but I think for right now, it's kind of just planting that seed out there that like, hey, if Rollins can't go, you're getting Cody and Punk, which is that's going to be good too. Arguably, I just even again with the story that you could tell, and tying Dusty into it, it's maybe a little too late to start it now to get to Mania, but I think there's a better story there between them two than Rollins and Punk. But yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. It's just that, we're all expecting it's set up for Punk and Rollins, but if Rollins can't go because of the injury, we're probably getting Cody and Punk. Because you're going to get Rock and Roman.
Right. Yeah, let me... I'm going to speak a little bit about that because I've been seeing that a lot in regards to, there's Cody Rhodes and Punk could possibly happen. Here's the thing. And by the way, let me say this before I make this statement. I've heard like a lot of stuff like, I was expecting more. Like I wanted them to talk about AEW. Guys, why the fuck would they want to talk about freaking stuff in AEW? No. Like, guys, they're talking about WrestleMania main events. They're talking about the Rumble. Why the fuck would they talk about a freaking Dynamite or a Rampage?
Jack Perry and Real Glass versus...
The situation has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Come on, guys. Like WWE, like why would WWE need to even mention anything in the vicinity about those freaking people?
They don't.
Stop, man. It's like enough, man. It's like freaking wrestling world and these fans. Anyway, just had to mention that. But here's the thing, Bryan, and I want to get your thoughts about this. Like, because, I've been hearing about Rhodes and Punk. There's also talks again about Gunther and Rollins, all these possibilities that they could happen. I would not be a fan of Rhodes versus Punk, and I'm going to tell you why. And it kind of ties into the segment that was a part of Monday Night Raw. Obviously this, and it's kind of cool in a way, I guess, if you want to say it, but you know, you want to you hear like the 50-50 reaction. You know, some people were chanting for Cody, some people were chanting for CM Punk, but there was a lot more Punk cheers that outweighed the Cody cheers in this segment. And to me, Brian, that's not really it's not a good visual or a good look for Cody when you have a hero out being outshined by the other hero. You know what I mean? It's also like, I'll use this as an example. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but both of those two at the time were baby faces, right? If I'm not mistaken. So yes, they were big stars and it was a big matchup and it was good for what it was, but Hulk Hogan was like the megastar. Like at that time, he was already the big megastar. And I think because of the fact that more people just drawn more to Hulk Hogan than they did for Ultimate Warrior, it kind of hindered Ultimate Warrior in a way, if that makes sense, to where you have a hero that's outshining the other babyface that's also trying to be the hero. And if you try to do that with Cody, especially if he's not going to be quote unquote finishing the story and takes on CM Punk, I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, Brian, I don't think it's going to happen anyway. So I don't expect, honestly, Cody and Punk to really happen. But if it does, it would not be a good decision with face versus face like that, and the way how booking is just done in this business. And yeah, booking, of course, back in the day, like I mentioned with Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, was a little bit different to where, yeah, it worked, but still at the same time, you don't want to blur the lines and make somebody outshine the other. It's like heel versus heel. It's like, yeah, it sounds cool. It sounds cool, like fantasy booking wise, but you don't want that other heel to out heel the other, if that makes sense. I'm just not a fan of that. And I think with Cody, it's the fact that he wouldn't finish the story if he's facing Punk. I just don't think it's a good look for him, as well as vice versa. Whoever gets more cheers than the other. So I don't know. But Brian, before we end this show and we get our final thoughts, your thoughts in regards to that?
Punk's one of those unique characters. I mean, there's very few. Like, I don't think it. Generally, I would say, yeah, like I hear what you're saying, but I think with Punk, I don't think it matters quite as much. He's more like like a Stone Cold or even a Rock back in the day, where they're more anti-hero than either heel or face. So I don't think, even with Cody in there, like I don't think Cody's would lose that much or anything at all, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna, and then the CM Punk is going to be that polarizing figure where you love him or you hate him.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying anybody would lose anything per se. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in regards to like the visual of somebody being the star or outshining the other star is just not a good visual or look. I'm not saying like Cody's still going to be Cody Rhodes. Like, I've even stated that on Richie's podcast the other day. Like, regardless of how they want to book Cody, because I think this company has done everything that they could possibly do to make Cody the top star in this industry, as well as Punk to a degree. And he just came back. But I don't know, man. It's just like, it's not a good look for someone that's like the American Nightmare, this American hero. And you have this other baby face in Punk, because nobody's going to be booing Punk anytime soon. Punk is going to get cheered for the most part wherever he goes at this point now. With AEW, it was different because of all the shit that was going on. But now in WWE, it's like it's a different situation here. Like, fans are high on Punk. They love Punk, that he's back, and he's going to get cheered. And if he's getting out cheered over Cody in this match, it's just like,
yeah,
I don't know. No, you see what I'm saying?
No, I hear what you're saying. And like, I'm how do I put it? Like, I wouldn't want this match at WrestleMania. I just think that it's if Rollins can't go, that's maybe where they head. But
and it's a possibility.
I wouldn't think like from Rumble, given everything where we're at, from the Rumble to Mania, now you're trying to put Punk and Rhodes together. Yeah, it's rushed. It's it's not going to be great. But eventually down the road, whether it's for title, for whatever, and whoever's the heel or face or whatever, these two are going to have a fucking amazing feud. I have no doubt.
Yeah. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, because again, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, could that be something that WWE can look further into? Sure. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think this was honestly just a way, again, just to hype up the Rumble, that these two could be the final two participants in the Rumble pretty much. I don't think it's anything beyond that in a way, honestly. But yeah, it's just if they were to go that route,
if they are the last two, man, how do you think that ends? Do you think it's, I mean, who's throwing who out? You know, that's
I don't know.
Right?
I don't, bro, man. That would be because because I don't know, man, because it's just like because Cody, like you can make an argument for Cody that because he won last year, he doesn't have to win. Right. He doesn't have to win it either. But with Punk, it's just and again, it's all comes down to this whole Seth Rollins situation. Do they have the match with Seth Rollins and Punk and everything? So it really truly depends. And I honestly think I don't even think WWE at this point knows what they want to do yet. Like you mentioned about long-term planning. Like I don't really think WWE has a set stone and plan. Do they maybe have a plan in regards to who wins this Rumble? Sure. But like main eventing Mania and who's what situation or who is in what situation. Yeah, I don't know if they have that decision yet.
Yeah, and you had mentioned earlier too, and given everything that's happened with Seth in the past year in the back and now his knee, yeah, like I mean, I would say now he's losing at Mania to whoever. And you mentioned it earlier, like I think he's going to be off TV a little bit, rehabbing. So whether that was a plan beforehand or not, I would think now with this injury, he probably more than likely he's going to be having some time off. So that's one star you're going to be down for a bit.
Exactly. But I think at this point, Brian, like I think there's a lot of things that could be on the table as of right now because of this injury with Rollins. And just again, the Rumble, again, Punk is also advertised for the Elimination Chamber. So, where does Punk tie in? Is he in a chamber matchup? Is he going to be in a singles matchup finally? So there's a lot of questions, a lot more to discuss, and we'll get into that. So, but yeah, man, this was an interesting Monday Night Raw. Again, it was some good moments, some just a lot of filler, just a lot of filler with people like DIY, the women's division, freaking Bronson Reed. I don't know what they're doing with Bronson Reed. He was saying that he was going after a championship, but now he wants to go after Jey Uso because he's also going after a title. Well, you could say that to pretty much everybody on the roster. So it's and again, and I don't know, it's just the fact that, WWE, and they've done it a time or two. And I said it on the roundtable. The very first thing I said in the whole buildup, like, it just feels like for the majority of this road to the Rumble, it's just like, all right, we got some big surprises planned for the pay-per-view. Let's just try to get there. Let's just hit cruise control. Let's not do anything let's have a couple cool face-to-faces, maybe a match or two here and there that crowd can just bust a freaking load over and just go from there. That's just how I truly feel and just what I'm watching. But hopefully the fact that they have been in cruise control, hopefully by the time we get into Rumble, it'll be all worth it, that they do have something big planned for the Rumble. Do they? Well, we'll soon find out in regards to it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Our next episode, we will be covering the Royal Rumble in another edition of the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's been a while since we've done one of those. Very excited to get into that, as well as to watch this pay-per-view, of course, with all the buzz and all the hype, what it could lead into WrestleMania coming up. So that'll be interesting and fun to get into, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The first one we've done in a while, so that'll be a lot of fun, man. So we'll be recording that show on Sunday night, and that should be coming out at least through on YouTube, as well as all other podcasting platforms. Will be most likely on Monday morning / afternoon. So make sure you guys stay tuned for when that show drops. And of course, as always, make sure you guys follow us on social media. You guys see the banner down below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as follow us on Instagram and TikTok. That is Ruthless _talk. We make a lot of great content for you guys over there as well. And once again, I want to thank everybody that was a part of the Royal Rumble Roundtable from this past Saturday. Again, another tremendous roundtable event. And again, expect more to come. We plan on doing one for WrestleMania coming up. We already got some guests planned in regards to that. So big stuff coming your way in regards to WrestleMania. So yeah, man, we're officially on the road to WrestleMania. We got AEW Revolution coming up soon. So there's a lot to discuss, as well as this whole spiel with freaking Raw, Netflix, TKO. A lot of stuff is going on, man. But hey, as podcasters that we cover this stuff, we wouldn't have it any other way. So, but thank you guys so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes to come. Brian, your final thoughts before we end the show.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say the shock of the night for the Royal Rumble, Sasha Banks returns. I'm
your lips to God's ears, bro.
I'm saying Sasha's returning at the Rumble. Man, I hope so.
Again, man, your lips to God's freaking ears, man. And who knows? Does she set something up with Bayley? You know, there's been talks. I mean, that's the only way, man. Like if she were to return, you would think it has something to do with her as well as Bayley and Damage Control. But we shall see, man. Like you said, your lips to God's freaking ears. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So, but thank you guys for tuning into another episode. That is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelly.
I'm Bryan Thomas.
And until next time, and there will be a next time, your boys are signing off, saying salutes.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody.
Peace. Let the body hit the floor. Let the body hit the floor. Let the body hit the floor.